A check charging system message on your Toyota can mean anything from nothing at all to a battery that's about to leave you stranded, and telling those two apart is easier than most people think. Stick with me for a few minutes and you'll know what's actually going on with your car, how to track down the real cause step by step, and the one thing nearly every other video gets wrong about this warning. Here's what the message means. Your Toyota's computer keeps an eye on the alternator, which is the part that recharges your battery while the engine runs. When the computer can't confirm the alternator is doing its job, it throws this warning. In plain terms, the car thinks it's running on battery power alone, and a battery by itself only holds so much. Now here's where most videos get it wrong. A lot of them tell you that if the message only shows up with the engine off, key in the accessory, or on position, it's completely normal and nothing to worry about. That's only half true. The alternator isn't spinning when the engine is off, so yes, the computer flags it. But go read the comments on any of these videos, and you'll see the same story over and over. The message popped up with the engine off, and then the car wouldn't start. That's not a coincidence. When you see this warning with the engine off and the car cranks slowly or won't turn over, your battery is weak and dying. The message is your early warning, not a false alarm. So before you shrug it off, try to start the car. If it struggles, deal with the battery now, not next week. A couple of quick things people have had luck with here. On push-button Toyotas, a weak key fob battery can occasionally confuse the start system, so swapping that cheap coin cell is worth ruling out. And if the car sat and then threw the warning, disconnecting the battery for a minute and reconnecting it has cleared a false trigger for a lot of owners. Try the simple stuff first. Now, if you see this message while the engine is actually running, that's the real problem, because the alternator should be charging, and clearly the computer doesn't see it. 4 usual suspects: a dying battery, corroded or loose connections, a blown fuse, or a failing alternator. Start at the battery. Pop the hood and look at the terminals. If you see white or greenish crust, that corrosion alone can trigger this, so clean them and make sure they're tight. While you're there, check the date sticker. A battery past about 3 years is living on borrowed time. Next, the fuses. There's a fuse box in the engine bay, and one fuse feeds the alternator circuit. On a lot of Toyotas, it's a small 7.5 amp fuse marked ALT. If that's blown, the alternator effectively goes offline, so swap it and see if the light clears. Then test the charging with a multimeter. With the engine off, the battery should read around 12.4 to 12.7 volts. Start the engine and check again. A healthy charging system usually reads somewhere between 13.5 and 14.7 volts. Notice that range, because if you're sitting at 13.7, that's actually fine, even though some videos tell you it has to hit 14. What you don't want is the voltage staying flat around 12, because that means the alternator isn't putting anything back in. One important catch: a multimeter only shows the battery's voltage, not its true health. A battery can read 12.6 and still fail under load. So if the numbers look fine but the problem keeps coming back, take the battery and the alternator to any auto parts store. Most test both for free, and that load test is what actually catches a weak battery a voltmeter will miss. A few real-world causes worth knowing. Cold mornings can set this off on a marginal battery, then it clears once things warm up, which is a sign the battery is on its way out. Rodents chewing the wiring to the alternator is more common than you'd think, so inspect those wires for damage. If the warning showed up right after a service, a connector may have been left loose. And if this message appears alongside a low oil or oil pressure warning, stop driving and check your oil, because that combination can point to a bigger engine problem, not just charging. Last thing, some owners take the car in, every test passes, and the dealer finds nothing. Toyota's computer runs a fairly tight voltage tolerance, so it can occasionally flag a charging fault that isn't a true failure. If everything checks out and it's intermittent, have the system scanned for codes and ask about any software updates before you spend money on parts. So to keep it simple, engine off and the car starts fine, keep an eye on it. Engine off and it won't start, your battery's dying. Engine running with the light on. Work through the battery, connections, fuse, and alternator in that order. Do that and you'll know exactly what you're dealing with before anyone charges you a dime. If this helped, a like and subscribe genuinely helps the channel. And drop your Toyota's year and symptoms below if you want a hand.